Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live, back in civilization, away from the murder capital of America, the scene of the Democrat debacle, which looked more like a meeting of the Chinese Communist Party. They actually selected a candidate no one voted for and are claiming that the other side wants to scuttle democracy. I mean, they're selecting the way the Chinese Communist Party, the Russian Communist Party, Venezuela selects candidates without a vote. Cackling Kamala didn't have a single vote. There were people that would have run against her. She might have won. She might have had to have a debate, which would have been disastrous, particularly if Tulsi Gabbard were there, who absolutely ruined her in about 3 minutes a few years ago. Tulsi Gabbard today endorsed Donald Trump, the second major Democrat to do it in 3 days. And the other one was astounding, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because his party has become too corrupt. Thank you for pointing that out. I mean, that really is important because that goes to the security of this country. I mean, his corruption goes right to national security. Today, we're remembering Afghanistan. Afghanistan was an act of treason on the part of Biden, giving up the Bagram Air Base, 400 miles from China, 500 miles from Russia, and 400 miles from Iran. Could only be done by someone who favors China and has animosity to the United States. There's no reason to give it up. We had the longest runway possibly anywhere. To be that close to these countries that want to destroy us is remarkable. We could or could not have pulled out of Afghanistan and kept the airbase. We have air bases all over the world to protect us, unless we have a traitor in the White House that gives them up and then leaves ammunition there that assures the fact that the people who helped us in Afghanistan would be killed. And they were. So the 13 that were remembered today, tragic and horrible. These people didn't have to die. And Biden and Harris was very proud of it. She was the last person in the room, probably because she didn't know the meeting was over. She was cackling so much. But she today praised Biden's decision. These are the lives that Biden cost us, and Harris applauds. None of these people would be dead if they hadn't cheated on the last election and covered up the hard drive, for example, and put a functioning moron in the and traitor. So, you know, the Trump is stepping up his efforts. Today, looked like he was the president. There he was at Arlington laying a wreath. I imagine the families would have walked out if Biden or cackling Kamala showed up. And he was there doing his duty, God willing, as the next president of the United States. We have with us, we're going to play the clip first, and then we're going to talk to Caroline. Okay, let's look at the clip. It's quite moving. And please remember these lives that we lost. Anytime we lose military, it's terrible. This was completely needless and totally the responsibility of the criminal in the White House.
Treason! Out!
Not only were those deaths needless, and the result not just of incompetence, but you're never going to convince me that some of the decision in Afghanistan, particularly giving up Bagram 400 miles from China, wasn't influenced by the unseemly, disgusting amount of money that he and his family received from Red China. What we're doing with the president that received money from Red China is a tribute to the corruption of the Democratic Party, a corruption they're trying to carry out now by foisting on us a blithering idiot who couldn't really announce a single policy position, even with a teleprompter, and a guy that, unless he can explain, which he won't do, his close connections to China, looks like an operative that the Chinese recruited when he was sent over there by Harvard. And so we go from a mentally incompetent traitor to tackling Kamala and Comrade Walls. And then if you look at their positions, and just in case we're misreading the tea leaves, their positions of price controls, allowing minors to come to Minnesota, let them get mutilated, even if their parents disagree. I mean, that's exactly a position, in fact, one of the most important of Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. Engels, in fact, wrote a book which was published a couple of days after Marx died, which he says was written with Marx, where he explained how the family had to be removed if communism would succeed. And it's hard to tell which the number one objective was, eliminating God or eliminating the family. Both were critical to communists. Stalin and Hitler shared in common wanting to get control of the children at 2. You take a look at the K through kindergarten programs, 3 to K programs in New York, they want to grab 3-year-olds now. Compulsory 6 hours a day in school. I guess to get them to, they need more time to get them to doubt their agenda. So this election is about whether we're going to be able to pass on our country as it was given to us as a democracy, a republic, a country of laws, or we're going to become just another communist dictatorship. You can only say what they want you to say. You can only believe what they want you to believe. You got to sit through ridiculous conventions like that where there's not even a vote. And they're accusing the other side of being anti-democratic, small d. Well, Trump is now stepping up his campaign. And if today was any example, this should God willing, work. I mean, today it couldn't be any more of a demonstration of why we need him when you realize these families in great pain who lost real heroes wanted him there and not the communists who were running on the Democratic ticket. This is not, as Robert Kennedy Jr., this is not a contest between 2 parties that are equally loyal to America. The Republican Party puts America first. I have no idea where the Democrat Party puts America. You don't give up Bagram Air Base if you're putting America first. You don't try to pressure Netanyahu to let Hamas survive, since the second group that Hamas wants to destroy and the Palestinians want to destroy are American. So stop this silly Palestinian stuff. One of the biggest supporters of Palestine is cackling Kamala's niece. She's a big supporter of the American hating Palestinians who are taught at 2 years old to kill not just Jews, but Americans. How can you love this country and support that? How can you protest in their favor? Because you've been brainwashed by teachers like Tampon Tim. That's precisely why he went to China, funded by Harvard many years ago, during the period of time that China was recruiting teachers, which were founded as a communist union, teaching teachers to brainwash Americans, children, to believe that socialism is no different than American capitalism and democracy. I'm not saying that. Tampon Tim said that. The coach. No. The defensive coordinator. He lies about that too. Lies about his rank in the military. Lies about whether he was ever in combat. Lies about his position with the football team. Lies about his drunk driving arrest. Lies about how we let Minneapolis burn down. Typical Democrat nowadays. The reason that Tulsi Gabbard endorsed President Trump today. And what are they doing to her? I don't want to say torturing, but it seems like that. They're certainly harassing her. Is Caroline ready?
That's right, Mayor. We have a very special guest tonight. Joining us now is Caroline Sunshine. She is Deputy Director of Communication for the Donald J. Trump for President 2024 campaign. Mayor, you now have Caroline on the show.
Well, Caroline, it's very nice to have you on, and you're doing a great job. But I was really struck by the fact this morning, I thought President Trump had been elected already when I saw him at Arlington conducting that ceremony. That was really extraordinary.
How are you? Great to see you. Exactly. President Trump looking every bit the commander-in-chief that he was and will continue to be again. Clearly what this country deserves, right? You have Kamala Harris, who was the last person in the room during Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan. And today she was the last person to show up for these Gold Star families. That is a failure of leadership. I can't define it any better than that. It was so moving today to see President Trump with these families, the effect that his presence has on them. But more importantly, Rudy, what we need to remember is that when President Trump was in office, he's the only president in the modern era that didn't start any new wars. In fact, it's likely that if President Trump was in the Oval Office when this withdrawal from Afghanistan happened, we would still have these 13 U.S. soldiers here with us today. There would be no need to go be with their grieving families. But that's the leader that President Trump is. And this week has proven to be a contrast in leadership generally. You know, President Trump has been to the border. Where's Kamala Harris? Nowhere to be found. Where's President Trump taking questions from the media anywhere, anytime, any place? Where's Kamala Harris? Nowhere to be found. And of course, today, no further contrast than seeing President Trump acting every bit the commander-in-chief that he is with those grieving families. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, who is still vice president of this country, again, nowhere to be found.
Well, I mean, the real fear that the Trump supporters have is that he's not running against cackling Kamala or Tampon Tim. He's running against the media and the elite. I mean, their handling of the convention reminded me of their covering up the hard drive. They took a ridiculously silly airhead convention and tried to make it into something serious to brainwash the American people. And then, of course, they put out these polls that seemed to give her this bounce. So all kinds of people calling me worried. So how is the campaign going to deal with it?
Well, we know this, right? We know a couple of things. One, we see President Trump beating Kamala Harris in several battleground state polls, and most importantly, from polls that are accurate, right? Not all polls are created equal. Not all polls are accurate. In fact, there's a lot of polls still around from 2016 where those pollsters should have been fired because they got it so wrong. But thus, as you said, is the system that you run against where failure is rewarded. But as we see in polls like Trafalgar, Rasmussen, CNBC, President Trump continues to beat Kamala Harris in those polls. And it gets even by a wider margin when you get into the indexes of the polls and you get down to the issues. When you get down to the issues most important to the American people, crime, immigration, inflation, the economy, President Trump, his lead over Kamala Harris opens significantly. But not only that, we also know that historically support for President Trump under polls leading up to the election, and he overperforms on election day. As you said, when you run for president as the anti-establishment candidate, which is who Donald Trump is, it's who he's always been, it's who he is this race. When you do that, you are never just running against the Democrat nominee for president. You are always running against the liberal mainstream media and the entire system and swamp apparatus. And, you know, it's been some dark days in our country for sure, but I always think it's darkest before the dawn. And this week, what you saw, I think, is a turning point for this country, because what you saw is President Trump, all the way back in Milwaukee, the man who survived the assassin's bullet, completely unified the Republican Party behind him. But this week, you watched him unify the country behind him. Look at the endorsements rolling in from RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. Just a couple of weeks ago, you had Elon Musk. He's now leading this movement, as he always has, to completely challenge the swamp and the system that every day works against the American people. And really, nobody embodies that more than Kamala Harris herself, career politician who's never held a private sector job in her life, flip-flops on every issue, radically liberal. This is about us versus the system, we the people versus the system, and President Trump's leading that movement. And there's no clearer illustration of that than what you saw this past week.
So this week, he has a rally at the end of the week, right?
He will be everywhere, everywhere all the time. Yes, President Trump will be back in the great state of Michigan. He'll be in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, all important states, great American patriots that we love seeing on the road. And President Trump's excited to see and keep bringing his winning message too.
A lot of people are saying, oh, the rallies have run out garbage. Those rallies have dynamite. I think one of the reasons he had a little trouble in 2020 is COVID took the rallies away from him.
Well, there's nothing,
well
you know this,
opportunities to cheat.
You know this so well. There's nothing like a rally. There's nothing like a MAGA rally. There's nothing like the energy that comes from having thousands of people who love our country so much show up in full force. And President Trump never has to have a teleprompter, can speak at length on any given topic. He was asked today about his debate preparation. He said, my whole life has been my debate preparation, right? And that's true. You watch him over and over again, get up on those stages, dazzle these crowds, give people hope. But also speak to the issues most important to them without a teleprompter. And as we're finding, that is proving very difficult for Kamala Harris. It's why she's looking to finagle her way out of the debate that we agreed to, because I have a feeling debate prep for the last 2 weeks, there's some red flashing warning signs for the Democrats, just as there was with Joe Biden.
Well, Caroline, you are doing a great job. And maybe she's worried that she's going to fail the debate like she failed the bar exam.
No doubt, just like she's failed at every task she's been given. This woman is a fraud. She's really the epitome of failing upwards, which is really what this entire career politician class in this country is.
Well, thank you very much, and keep going. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. This very interesting interview with Caroline. She really is doing a superb job when you consider it's like David and Goliath, right? Whether it's Caroline or the other spokespersons or the president himself or the vice presidential candidate. It's them against the world. And You look at the coverage of the RFK endorsement, hardly covered. When an alien horrible crime takes place, they don't tell you it's an alien. I mean, it completely corrupt, right down to the nitty gritty. I mean, there's nothing honest about any of these people in the media. They'll lie about anything or cover up anything. So, I mean, someone should have pointed out that she put the stamp of liar right on her when she had Leon Panetta introduce her. Leon Panetta is one of the primary people that's one of the spies who lied. No question about it, they lied. He signed a letter on 1 day's notice and no research of any kind that the hard drive was a product of Russian, had earmarks of Russian collusion. It didn't, and he had no idea that it did, and he did no research to find out why. He just lied his ass off because he's a liar. Just like he lied about what he said the president said about our troops. President never said that. That's the single leak of somebody who hates President Trump. I know President Trump. He would never say that about our troops. And so we get one liar who says it, and now we have an institutional liar who they put on there and don't bother to tell you that he's one of the people that lied last time to cover up evidence of at least 50 crimes by the crook in the White House, including millions of dollars from Red China. What kind of an American is Panetta? A lousy one. God, ambition, 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 ambition. Or money, money, money. I don't know what it is, Leon. I knew you. I have no respect for you at all. You really are a groveling ass licker. You knew that was true. All of those things in there. Anybody that knew Washington knew that Biden was a big crook and a total moron. Okay, you don't have to support Trump, but you go sign a letter covering up probably the most relevant piece of evidence in an American political election ever. Look at this big fat liar. What was he? Secretary of Defense or something? When the red lines were being drawn, and communist Obama was double crossing us, and he was licking his ass. Imagine having that guy introduce you and knowing the press will cover up that he's one of the 51 lies who spied. Spies who lied. Maybe the same thing, right? Well, I don't know if we have a president now. What do you think, Ted? Where is he? Is he on the beach? He came back from.
I was going to ask, where the hell is Joe Biden?
So who? I mean, she must be getting ready for the debates because, I mean, here's a woman who's an airhead. Russia was a big controversy, but more controversial.
Well, the last guy to debate Trump ended up getting thrown out of his party. He got thrown out of office.
Well, he was demented.
Got told to kick rocks.
He was demented, but she's really dopey.
Oh my goodness. And she doesn't have the excuse of literally losing her mind. I mean, he's dopey. He was dopey before he lost his mind, but now he's lost his mind.
I mean, she has no brains and no integrity. That's pretty good combination for an evil person. And she supports evil policies. Yeah. I mean, this was the convention of murder.
Yeah.
While they were pretending, yeah, with all that silly joy stuff and liars like Leon Panetta introducing her, and communist train Obama there, yeah, bouncing around. Who is? Oh, is that her? That's her sister, whose daughter. Oh no, that's
that's who you
one
know.
of the richest women in the world.
Yeah, up
Yeah.
there screaming about oppression. Yeah,
Yeah.
screaming about oppression in the country that made her like the richest woman off of a talk show. I don't even know how she got so rich. But this is the country that got her so rich. But somehow, she's speaking about oppression and how terrible this country is.
It's really, really sad how deeply entrenched the communists got into the Democrat Party and into the leadership of our country. Hollywood, for sure. I mean, Hollywood is a disgrace. I mean, she's really part of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, she's another featherbrain,
Yeah.
silly woke.
Yeah, these aren't exactly intellectual heavyweights.
Yeah, I mean, then they make like that stupid View.
Yeah. How is that even like? Why is that a show? That's an indictment on the American on our culture.
They talk about social media being bad for the kids and softening their brain. It may. I mean, I don't know. But shows like The View soften your brain also. If you watch that, you forget how to think.
Spot on.
God forbid you should read.
It's scary to think that there are still some, not many, but there's still a chunk of people that get their news from those women on that show, The View.
Yeah, I mean, really, really intellectual heavyweight.
Yeah, I love that term.
Really, a lot of experience to govern it.
Yeah, The View.
They haven't run shit.
Can you imagine? Like, I can't even take it seriously. It's not even worth responding to most of the time because it's like, why?
They never had to stand up to a riot to find out if they're like me or they're like Tampon Tim. I got to know that. You got to know, do you have a guy as mayor or governor who can stand up to rioters? Then you're not going to have riots. Or you have traitors like Tampon Tim.
That's right. Well, Mayor, we're getting some breaking news here regarding Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. This is a letter that just came out, was just released. So I want to read this to you and kind of get your live reaction. How about that?
Mark Zuckerbucks. Okay.
Mark Zuckerbucks of
Zuckerbucks fame, where he put out $400 million to help fix the elections.
That's right. So you can pause this. We're going to put it on screen here. I'll take this off so we can read it. So this is the Chairman Jordan. I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation and online platforms. Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation. So here we go. Facebook is admitting that they were repeatedly pressured by the Biden administration in 2021 to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. And the company is now so basically what he's saying here is that they regret following the Biden administration's pressure campaign in censoring content surrounding COVID-19, including content that was.
Well, what about the hard drive?
So we're going to keep going here because my understanding is that he does mention the hard drive as well. So again,
I don't know if you shouldn't go to prison for that.
So in this, let's see what's happening here. So
it's like Panetta.
In a separate situation, this is about 2020. The FBI warned Facebook. This is Mark Zuckerberg speaking. Quote: in a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving the presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation and that in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We shouldn't have demoted the story. So really, he's couching this in some very let's get it clear here, Mark. You
covered up the story, you lying bum.
At the behest of fact checkers, which anyone with a brain knows that these fact checkers weren't actually fact checkers. They were Democrat Party operatives. Come on, Mark. Look, at least, this is something, at least. Give him some, I'm not giving him credit.
Wonder why he's ratting.
This is better than nothing. Exactly. What's going on here?
What's he getting? I mean, this guy has no integrity. What the hell what's he ratting for?
We've made changes to our policy and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. Well, what's the point of happen? Well, this isn't the type of situation where you get a mulligan.
This has got to tell you they're afraid Trump's going to win.
We no longer temporarily demote things in the U.S. while waiting for fact checkers. By the way, please define fact checkers. I'm so sick of this. What the hell is a fact checker?
Yeah. Could we point out that Tim Walz went to China, paid for by Harvard? Could we point that out? Could we point out that he lied about his drunk driving? I mean, how about we get those out also, huh?
He also addresses the Zuckerbucks. Another issue. I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. Oh my goodness, this is hard.
In Democratic areas, not only Democratic areas, but 80-90% Democratic areas.
The idea here, this is Mark speaking in this letter, the idea here was to make sure local election jurisdictions across the country had the resources they needed to help people vote safely. During the pandemic, I made these contributions to the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. They were designed to be nonpartisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analysis I've seen showing otherwise, I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the other. I don't plan on making similar contributions this cycle. Wow.
So, I mean, it isn't arguable that it benefited. You can look at where it was spent. 90% was spent in corrupt Democratic areas.
Michigan specifically. I remember someone bringing this to my attention. Kalamazoo.
2,000 mules ended up tracking them. The Zuckerboxes.
So you can this.
You can to about 90% certainty show that it was in corrupt Democrat areas. That's where they did their cheating. I mean, it was a very, very well thought out criminal plot by the Democrat Party. Look, where do they stop the counting? Forget the state. It's the city that's important, because that's where you got the crooked judges. So Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Atlanta. These aren't American cities. They're not American cities ruled by law. They're Democrat dictatorships. You pay bribes there to get things. Judges are put on the bench purely by hack politicians who have to do the bidding of the hack politicians, like in New York. And they made sure their cheating was done there. And then they say, well, the judges. They got the judges in. It's like The Godfather. The Godfather. What is the state? He's got so many judges in his pocket. He's got to share them. I mean, you got to let everybody drink from the well. That was a statement by Barzini when the Godfather settled with all his disputes and didn't kill anybody until Michael took over, and then Michael wiped them all out. So what are we looking at there? Well, we're going to be back, and we're going to
Italia people, should I insist that all these drug middlemen have clean records?
Mention it. Don't insist. Bazzini's a man who know that without being told.
You mean Italia?
Italia's a pimp. He never could have outfought Santino. But I didn't know until this day that it was Bazzini all along. Bazzini's a man who know that without being told.
So who is it behind? Who's the guy behind the curtain now? Biden hasn't been around for a week and a half. Harris is trying to memorize the Pledge of Allegiance, and she's trying to do it better than she did on the bar exam. And so, who's running the country? Prince Barry? You think, Ted? I don't know. I think Prince Barry's got some both. I think, first of all, I think Prince Barry is obviously smarter than Cackling Kamala and Dopey Joe.
Yeah.
But he's not the intellectual heavyweight.
No, he's not running the show either.
I mean, that whole bar association thing, not bar, the law review thing was based on not writing it. Nobody can find anything he ever wrote.
Yeah. And
his book was written by the communist heirs. And when you listen to him just talk, not teleprompter, there are an inordinate number of I used to count them. I mean, in 1 minute he can do it 20. Not, let's say, not this great intellect. A lot of DEI going on. So somebody else is the brains behind this and the energy. He himself admitted that he was lazy in an interview. We'll go back and look for it. And of course, they covered it up. And I think Michelle kicked him in the kneecap because he says he's asked, what's your biggest weakness? Well, I'm a little lazy. We'll be right back. The interview was Barbara Walters, by the way. To live is on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Well, there's only a few more months to take advantage of America having let's see what we can absolutely agree on, a completely incompetent president and vice president. So you're not fooling, the press can lie all it wants, but you're not fooling Putin and Xi and the Ayatollah, and they all know that she's a blithering idiot and he's a crook. And at points can be a traitor. So still some pretty tough choices have to be made. Do you take advantage of him while we have him and her? Or do you wait until you're better prepared? I'm really talking right now about Iran. Because Iran is stepping up the pressure on Israel. And I think having to make a choice, do they go all out in their attacks on Israel while they have a Biden there? From everything I know about Iran, and it is quite a bit, Iran is not ready. In its view, they are not ready for an all-out war with Israel. Even though Israel is tied up in Gaza, they really aren't tied up in Gaza. the entire Hamas would be destroyed if we didn't have slimebag Harris and Biden in the White House, who are stopping from the very beginning, making it difficult for Israel to achieve its objective of really ending Hamas. Although the longer Bibi strings them out, the more damage they're going to do to Hamas. Hezbollah, yes, is stronger and better armed, much better armed, but still not wanting to test itself against Israel, nor does Iran. Remember, Iran fought a war against Iraq to a tie, 7 years. It's not exactly the most illustrious army in the world. Israel has never lost a war, and Israel's fighting for its survival, and that can produce miracles sometimes. And Israel has, in the counterattacks, even though they haven't amounted to the numbers in terms of deaths in the north and with the Iranian proxies, they've shown that they can hit places deep into Iran, including the strike a couple of months ago, right near the underground nuclear facilities. That was a signal. And you know, if you think you really understand the depth of Israel's defense, you're wrong. So Iran wisely believes it needs about 3 or 4 more years to build up its nuclear program, and really doesn't want to risk it right now. On the other hand, they've got a patsy president and vice president and Defense Department. Only one thing that somebody pointed out in one of the papers today, I can't remember which one now, but I agree with this. Biden's on his way out. They're all on their way out. And if there were a major attack on Israel, there'd be a lot of pressure on Biden to do something. If he didn't do anything, he'd certainly, if they haven't given the election away, would give the election away. So there might be a little fear there. But in any event, if we take a look at the map behind me, we really have we've got a 2-front war going on there. Can we see that a little bit? Is that clear enough now? Yeah. But we have a 2-front war going on. So there's one front is right here in Gaza. And you might notice, maybe you don't, I mean, I pay attention to this and talk to people about it all the time, but you might notice that down here in Gaza, just the other day, Israel attacked again right in the center of Gaza. That's an area they've already cleared out, but they went and cleared it out again. So they're, I'm sure Bibi isn't going to say this, but what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the timeouts and taking down Hamas and trying to get Palestine down to a manageable group of people that they can control. Control in the sense that they're not going to come in and try to eliminate the Jews. At the same time, from the very beginning, from October 7 on, they've been attacked up here. This is Lebanon, right here. And they've been attacked up here. This is really the land of Jesus, isn't it? It is Nazareth. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of missiles, drones, tremendous success by Iron Dome and the other missile defense systems they have, but still a certain number dead. counterattacks of massive proportions right back at them up in here, including hitting Iranians, which we are too cowardly to do. Iran took out another, well, the Houthis took out another ocean liner, another massive oil barge the other day. And we're obviously doing nothing about it, even though we claim that that we're going to protect that area. But Israel has been doing that, and you can see they're fighting a two-front war. The one in the south is at their discretion. When they want to go in and hit and take out more Hamas, they do. The one up north, Hezbollah is hitting them pretty hard, but they're hitting Hezbollah back. Over the weekend, they did an anticipatory attack on Hezbollah, about 800 bombings. It's doing a lot of damage. And basically, they're trying to keep it the way it is so America can be back with a president who can be their partner. And believe me, if Iran is worried about stepping it up too much with cackling Kamala and Joe the moron and Barry the trained communist, when they get Trump there, they're gonna go on any of this, and we'll be back to trying to negotiate peace. I also think if we look to Ukraine, both Zelensky and Putin are doing what they should do. They're trying to gain extra position. Zelensky yesterday or the day before said that shortly Ukraine can attack anywhere inside Russia. Now that's all fine, but Biden won't let him, or whoever's running our government won't let him. I don't know who's running our government. It certainly isn't Biden. I mean, he took all that time off, went to California. Ted, I think he's on the beach now.
Where?
I don't know, but who makes the decisions on, for example, I'm sure Zelensky is asking every day to go further and further into Russia with our weapons.
Right.
So we gave him weapons.
Yeah.
But he was only allowed to use them inside of Ukraine. Some of them, that's still true.
Yeah.
Some we've allowed him about a 2 or 3 mile over the border into Russia.
Yeah.
But no deep penetration. So over the weekend, Zelensky made a rather bold statement, which is very shortly we'll be able to hit any target we want in Russia. Now, it's true he may have the weapons to do that, but he doesn't have the permission to do that. Zelensky is being held back by
Blinken,
by Biden and
Blinken,
and cowardly Blinken, the way Truman held MacArthur back in Korea. And he's getting hit from Russia, and he can't really go into Russia and penetrate. Now, I'm not advocating that he do that. I'm just telling you the facts, because this whole situation, situation in Ukraine is extremely corrupt. I mean, and this is something I tried to point out in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. When you have the level of corruption at the highest levels between two governments like the United States and Ukraine, it's a national security problem, because you don't know how to accomplish objectives. I mean, there's no doubt that some of the money we gave them was stolen. It wouldn't be Ukraine if it wasn't stolen. But how much? We don't know. I mean, the Biden administration can't figure out how to cross the street. How are they going to figure out? And plus, they do plenty of stealing in Ukraine. and those 51 spies who lied. I mean, they've been running this intelligence apparatus for years, and what a terrible job they've done. That's why I thought it was amazing that she would have a bum like Panetta introduce her, a proven institutional liar. Well, what did you think, Ted, ultimately of the Kennedy endorsement? I'm going to tell you why I think it's going to make a very big difference.
Well, as a college coordinator for his father, I'm much more interested on what you think.
Well, what I
Of our
think is,
opinion.
what I think is this: it supports the Trump and Republican argument that the Democrat Party of yesteryear is not the Democratic Party of today. By yesteryear, they mean in the 50s and 60s. They certainly don't mean in the century before, where it was the party of slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democratic Party has a terrible history. It's had some great moments, but it's also had the worst moment of any political party.
Yeah.
But in any event, when I grew up in a family that was half Republican and half Democrat, they're pretty much together on national security.
Yeah.
There wasn't much dispute on national security. If you were to listen to the Kennedy-Nixon debates now, their only disagreement on foreign policy was Quemoy and Matsu. Now, what's Quemoy and Matsu? They're two islands off of Taiwan. The question was, would we defend them or not? As to everything else, they were in agreement. So, and remember, I mean, Kennedy was ready to go to nuclear war to keep missiles out of Cuba. Well, we got missiles there now. The Russians are there. The Chinese are in South America. Our traders in the White House have certainly taken the eye off that. And they're sure as hell not going to challenge the country that gave Biden more wealth than any country in the world. Well, I mean, it is ridiculous for us to have a president who became fabulous, his family being fabulously wealthy from that country that is also the most homicidal regime in the world. How you could take money from them gives you a sense of the depth of how evil you are. Same thing with Tampon Tim. How you can know China and say the things that he says about China indicates that he's as stupid as Cackling Camel, which I don't think is true, or he's been trained. I mean, China invested a great deal of money in that program. Hunter Biden is a result of that. He even tells you that. And there, look at that. He even looks like a communist. Look at that. That's when he got arrested for drunk. What was he? He was way over he blew the test. He was 40 miles over the speed limit. He was a teacher at the time. By doing that, he put the lives of children in jeopardy. And then he told lies like he was speeding because he's hard of hearing. I have no idea what the connection is between not being able to hear. But maybe you didn't hear the siren of the cop chasing you, but that isn't the reason you're not supposed to. You're not allowed to speed when the cop's not around. I mean, I never understood what the hell that meant. I don't know if he's changed. He's had about 5 stories on that drunk driving thing. But I mean, if that were the only, you'd say, oh, okay, drunk driving. But it's one thing, drunk driving. It's another thing when you're trying to paint him as the teacher of the year, the role model for the kids. And then you don't lie. No, he wasn't the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator. Yeah, he took the kids 30 times to China and fed them Chinese propaganda. Who paid for all that? First trip was paid for by Harvard. Harvard has been implicated in more than a few of these Chinese schemes to steal intellectual property and to turn Americans. And we know that China and the communists had a program to infiltrate our schools. Why do these kids run around like a bunch of jackasses? Not knowing history, not knowing geography, not knowing not knowing ethics, not believing in God, and thinking that marijuana is great. And now we're finding out that marijuana eats up your brain. Meanwhile, I mean, I don't know how we could possibly win Colorado. I mean, you go around Colorado, you get high just walking around the streets of Denver. I don't know what happened to that place. That's a beautiful state, and it's become, well, a lot of hippies. Did a lot of hippies go live there, Ted?
Yes. Yeah.
You think of that, Portland and
San Francisco.
San Francisco and Seattle.
Yeah.
Jeez, they're disgraceful.
Yeah.
They're disgraceful.
I don't get it.
Thank God we still have Middle America so we can defend ourselves. Imagine having to rely on them to defend ourselves. All those.
Yeah, that would be the end of America's.
All those drug using.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Well,
Boeing.
Oh gosh.
Now has to be bailed out by Elon Musk.
Elon, they're not
Elon Musk.
Well, you know they're not happy about that.
I'm think Elon has to come to the rescue.
Yeah.
It's a shame, though. I mean, I really feel bad for those for those people that are up there.
Can you imagine?
They're only supposed to be up there for 8 days. 8 days.
Can you imagine? I wonder if there's a live feed. The astronauts stuck in space will return to Earth in 2025. Can you imagine being told, "Hey, we're working on this. We're getting you back, but not until next year."
And you pack for 8 days.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, God willing that it'll be all safe, and thank God.
They look to be all smiles.
Thank God. Well, they're very brave people, but the company is a disaster.
Not good for Boeing, right?
Well, also the space craft. What's the name of that company that is a competitor of SpaceX?
NASA or Boeing.
Yeah, but there's also a private company involved.
It's not. It's Elon's company, no?
No. Elon's company is coming in. The owner of the company that put them up in space for 8 days says they hate Elon's company. It's like really embarrassing
that they have. They're saying
they had to go to them.
Oh my God! Stuck space company. Let's see what company is to blame here. Starliner crew. Butch and Suni are being kept aboard the International Space Station. They're going to be brought home. It's a commitment to safety, says NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Bill Nelson, is that the former senator for Florida, Bill Nelson?
It looks like him, yeah.
Oh, God. So great. We have a politician.
I think he's a real lightweight.
Yeah, now he's running NASA.
He was in the Senate. He was a real lightweight.
That's what I thought. That's why I'm shocked. Now he's running NASA?
I mean, but he had...
Is he an astronaut?
No, I don't think so.
I can't imagine he is, right? He's a politician.
Probably a friend of Biden's.
No wonder why we're...
He's probably in the Left Behind in Grade School club in the Senate.
And no wonder we're stuck in space. We got failed Senate candidates running these.
Yeah, I mean,
running NASA.
He looks good compared to Biden and Harris, but still.
I was gonna say, yeah. Please keep Bill there. Don't put Kamala anywhere near anything space related.
Meanwhile, the city Aurora in Colorado has been taken over by Trans Aragua. So much for Denver being a sanctuary city has destroyed this poor suburban city of Aurora that is not. Because Trans Aragua has moved in there and used it as a headquarters. Trans Aragua is a Venezuelan gang here in the United States due to the border czar, cackling Kamala, and Biden. They were unknown to us a few years ago, or at least if they were here, they're in very small numbers. They're now represented all throughout the United States, heavily in New York, heavily in the West Coast, but they go select a place like Aurora. They've taken over the apartment buildings. They've killed people. They've raped people. In New York City, they're prolific. And all Adams does is lie about it. And you got to go digging to find out that somebody is, the last thing they tell you is whether the person is an illegal alien or not, but it's pretty easy to tell. And you look at these records, these are people that are all let out by Biden, by his executive orders. Under Trump, they either would have been thrown out or they would have been kept in detention. In fact, some of them were let out. This group in Aurora, Colorado, that were engaged in multiple crimes.
Yeah.
They were let out on the theory that there wasn't room for them in the detention facility. And it turns out there was plenty of room for them in the detention facility. The judge was just following the Biden administration, let them all out rule. Catch and release. Catch and release, and then rape and kill an American. So Laken Riley is a victim of that, I believe that was a guy from Venezuela also. But there's, Aurora is 390,000 people. It's east of Denver. It leads Denver, thanks to their left-wing soft on crime, a governor who aids and abets crime and a mayor who aids and abets crime. They have the highest new migrant arrivals per capita. So New York has the most gross number.
That makes sense. I'm not surprised to hear that, are you?
No. And the lion's share of them have gone to Aurora. But Aurora has made it clear that it doesn't share Denver's left-wing, anti-American, anti-common sense, pro-communist policies. But as this article, and this is in the New York Post, by Jeannie Tear and Chris Nessie.
Oh, Jenny Tear. I know Jenny very well. We're going to get her on the show.
And Chris Nessie is very good also.
Jenny's been great for years on the border.
So what they write here, Denver's largesse has become Aurora's problem.
Wow.
And there's a candidate who we should get on, Ted, named John Fabricatore.
We'll do it.
He was head of ICE's office in the Denver, and he's now running for Congress.
Let's get him on.
And he said the gang has been running amok in the area, and officials have been slow to react, and the police cover it up.
We'll have to get him on.
The way they do all over the country.
That's what
I mean, this migrant crime has been going on for over a year.
Yep.
And they just don't report them as migrants. And of course, nobody goes and looks at these crimes all over the country. I mean, so then occasionally you get like a really sensational one, like the horrible one involving Laken. But a lot of these are beatings and thefts and adding to already a massive crime problem in the country, spurred on by George Soros. So we're building on, for example, before this even started, Philadelphia had more murders.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, more murders ever in its history under Democrat mayor, Democrat governor, and multi-millions of dollars put in by Soros to put in a crooked DA like the one we have in New York. The leader, or the so-called leader of this group, came in 2022. Who was president in 2022? Who was the border czar in 2022? I know. They're now lying and saying she wasn't. I thought it was hilarious when Politico wrote that she wasn't the border czar and then had to take it back because they described it as a border czar like 100 times. So now this leader guy has been handed over to ICE. They had already released him twice. So you'd say, well, send him back to Venezuela, but Venezuela won't take him back. Well, my recommendation, if we had a president, would be get a nice plane, fly it over Venezuela, and let him parachute into Venezuela. Give him a good parachute, show him how to pull it. A tough guy, right? He's a gang member. He shouldn't be afraid of, he's only 22 or something. If George Bush could do it at 80 or 90, this guy can do it at 22. Just throw him out of the plane, and all you got to do is show him how to pull the cord. And actually, if you get a really good one, it'll open automatically. Right? Just drop them in the middle of Caracas. They have very little crime in Caracas, too. They can handle it. And they got a lot of room in their prisons. Caracas, like the prisons are empty. They're all in New York and Aurora. They're in Democrat cities where people don't go to jail. Kamala has an ad now. And in the ad, she shows how she's going to be tough on the. I mean, a narrator touts her record as a border state prosecutor. You got to be kidding me. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris. That's what he said. When did that happen? She's been the border czar from the beginning of the Biden administration, presided over an invasion of America by a disproportionately large number of criminals, since they're not being vetted. And since nothing is happening, the gangs can take advantage. The numbers that we can count take us to about 10 million. That doesn't count the ones that we don't see. The calculations on that before the lying cover-up artist, kind of buried that, is you get pretty close to 1 for 1. In other words, if you've stopped one, you probably one came over and you didn't see it. I'm not talking about the gotaways. The gotaways we count. Those are about 1.4, 1.8 million. The gotaways are ones that we see, we record in some way, but we don't have them. We may even know their name. We may not know their name. They may know their nationality, but we saw them and record them. So you got 3 types, right? You got the group that we arrest. Dangerous criminals who lie to us. A lot of them don't even lie anymore. We just let them go. We hardly ask them any questions. We hardly vet them. When Adams and others say, "Oh, you can't call them all criminals," well, you can't say they're not all criminals because they have no idea. And since we have no idea and we don't do any checking, you got to say that the criminal organizations will take greater advantage of you. So we have to assume, and when you look at the results of the amount of crime and the amount of terrorists here, this is a disproportionately large criminal group that have been invited here and escorted in by Biden and the border czar. There's no reason they're going to stop. They're already, 27% of them apparently have already signed up to vote in some of the Democrat crooked states. Now, they're not going to vote. They're going to take those and attach them to phony ballots. You don't think that happened? Wake up. Of course it happened. So do we have her ad where she shows she shows them climbing over the Trump wall as if she put the wall up?
Yeah, we have that. Get that up here.
I don't.
I put that in when we started.
And we'll.
Not on yet, so don't worry. We're going to restart it.
Increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. On the border, the choice is simple. Kamala Harris supports increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. Donald Trump blocked a bill to increase the number of Border Patrol agents. Kamala Harris supports investing in new technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Donald Trump blocked funding for technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Kamala Harris supports spending more money to stop human traffickers. Donald Trump blocked money to stop human traffickers. Kamala Harris prosecuted transnational gang members and got them sentenced to prison. Trump is trying to avoid being sentenced to prison. There's 2 choices in this election: the one who will fix our broken immigration system and
It also would have led to a lot of criminals becoming American citizens. And that's why he opposed the bill. And to think that they would do anything other than more Border Patrol agents would just mean more Rockefeller Center escorts who take you to your seat. The Border Patrol isn't allowed to do anything to these people. So now they have this guy that's got to go back to Venezuela. Well, the first two times they had him, they let him out. Now they can't send him back to Venezuela because neither Harris nor Biden have the guts to just drop him in Venezuela and tell Maduro to go to hell. And if they try to block us, we know what to do. I'd give it to DEA tomorrow. They take in the military. DEA is not the FBI, I hope. At least they weren't when I was there, but the FBI wasn't the FBI either. Now, Harris as a prosecutor, I mean, this is really ridiculous. As the borders are, 10 million people have come in that we know of, virtually unvetted. And they're committing crimes at rates that they're taking over cities, not just committing crimes. This is somebody who praised the defunding the police movement at the height of the Black Lives Matter Antifa riots in 2020 when people were killed, property destroyed, places burned down. She praised the defunding the police movement. She said that the riots are not going to stop. They're not going to let up. And they should not. That's what they accused Trump of when he told the people on January 6th to go to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically. She said to continue to riot, not to let up. And they shouldn't let up. Yeah, continue to burn and continue to kill. Tackling Kamala. That's her quote on the Stephen Colbert Show in June 2020. They're not going to stop. They're not going to let up, and they should not. So that's why she and Walz and Tampon Tim get along so well. And also Tampon's wife, who likes smelling the smoke, who I think would go to China with him. She's the one who said they picked Tiananmen Square as their wedding date so they'd always remember the date. Who remembers the date at Tiananmen Square other than a communist? She also promoted a fundraiser to bail out all of the rioters who destroyed Minneapolis. Well, let's hope that we get the opportunities to get this to the American people. So Kamala now has let us know that she was the last person in the room applauding Biden's getting Americans killed in Afghanistan, a strategy that any person with an IQ over 100 would figure out would get people killed. She also tells us that she warned Zelensky about Russia's plan to invade in February of 2022. That was about 4 days before they invaded. And he warned that he was going to invade 2 months earlier. Man, is she a jackass? What an absolute jackass. She warned him of something that was in the newspapers. 5 days later, after the warning, Vladimir Putin invaded. And somebody at that meeting said she made a complete jackass out of herself. How could she not? There's a reason she is not being interviewed. by a compliant lapdog press. They're not going to ask her anything hard, but you don't have to ask her anything hard for her to say something irrational, because she's not a smart person and she's not really a loyal American. She's working for somebody else, maybe not even on purpose. She's left, defunding the police. Huh? You know, money to that fund to let out the rioters, who were all going to get let out anyway because Soros owned the DAs, went to murderers to get out of jail, and rapists and pedophiles. Her fund, we'll have that all for you. This woman is a financier of criminals. Well, here's my thought on RFK and why it's going to make a difference. I think these numbers are a little exaggerated, but one of the pollsters put out a thing saying that roughly 25% of America is Republican, 25% of America is Democrat, and 50% is independent. I think that's a little high on independent. But independent, it could be that there are more independents than Republicans or Democrats. If there aren't, they're very close. So we know Republicans are going to vote 90+% for Trump. Could be 95. Harris, I don't think she'll get 90 to 95% of Democrats. She might get more stay-at-homes than Trump. She might. So the real key to this election will be the independents. So we only have a couple of real independents who are persuasive. And one of them is the guy you just saw right there, Robert, who's more persuasive than Robert Kennedy to an independent. Democrats are mad at him because he endorsed Trump. Republicans are going to vote for Trump anyway. He might actually bring in a few Republicans on the vaccine thing who didn't think that Trump was tough enough on the vaccines or something. But his real value is going to be the independent voter. She doesn't have the kind of independent support. Basically, her support is left of left and Hollywood. Basically, people who are on drugs or like communism. And these are pretty. I mean, but when you get Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard in 3 days, that's going to. And since the media didn't make a big deal out of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s endorsement, people will be continuing to learn about it. And it's our job, the free press, to get it to you. That's why I do this show every night. I do this show the way Steve Bannon and I described what we had to do when I gave out the hard drive and they covered it up. And criminals like Leon Panetta covered it up. We had to go around the Iron Curtain of censorship and talk directly to you. So we will bring all these facts to you, because they won't tell you about how a lot of that money that she raised let out rapists and murderers, and they won't tell you about her unbelievably terrible record as DA and Attorney General. She's one of the people responsible for the horrible conditions of San Francisco. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to put all the pieces together that show, that make a very, very strong case, at least begging for an explanation, that Tampon Tim looks a lot like a Chinese operative. Look, I can't prove that he's a Chinese operative. All I can tell you is he makes a pretty good pretense of being one. And he's not challenged on it. We're going to do it again like we did with Obama, trained by heirs and a bunch of communists when he was young. Then going around the world saying America was a colonial power. We were never a colonial power. His wife saying she was never proud of this country until that guy became president. We didn't do anything good before that, Michelle. And I don't know what was so great about all those speeches. I mean, they were, Michelle looked like she wanted to beat the shit out of people. Man, oh man, she was one angry. Ooh, I don't know about her being, I mean, everybody was worried about her being a candidate. She's one angry lady. I don't know if she wouldn't come across as another Hillary, you know? She doesn't have any real charm. I mean, I know she's been on Vogue and all these other places. Oh my God. I mean, and so has the first stepmother. Do you know that Brittany Mahomes is being attacked?
Yeah.
Because she put
She liked a tweet.
some kind of a tweet that Trump put out. She put a like on it.
Are you surprised?
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm not surprised. I just think it's disgusting. And it shows you that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is correct. The Democrat Party is now the enemy of free speech.
100%.
And if you're the enemy of free speech, you're an enemy of America, because that's what we're all about. We can't be America without free speech.
In your lifetime, Mayor, the Democrat Party used to be, even if you disagreed with how they did it, they at least espoused the virtues of free speech, world peace.
I would certainly say this. I don't know about the Democrat liberals, who are mostly Democrats, were very, very strong supporters of defending the opponent's right to say whatever they wanted to say, almost to the point where a lot of conservatives thought they went too far. Like the Skokie having a march, the Nazis having a march in Skokie, Illinois, where there were Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
But the liberals said, well, they do have a right to do that because they have a right to free speech. And they certainly defend me and my colleagues who were indicted in Georgia and disbarred and for exercising our right of free speech and proclaiming that Trump's election was a fraud. We have a right to that opinion. We have a right to be wrong. We're not wrong, but we have a right to be wrong. You can't put us in jail for an opinion, or you can't take $145 million for us for an opinion, unless you live in a dictatorship.
Remember the
I think we've been saying it for a long time. To have people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard say it is another thing. They're coming from the other side. Well, we're going to be back tomorrow. We'll see what develops, particularly with the Zuckerberg thing. Exactly how much he's going to admit about their involvement in the cover-up of the hard drive. Also, I would like to spend some time tomorrow, I didn't get a chance to do it tonight, on the increasingly complex Trump assassination attempt, which is getting stranger and stranger and stranger. And the lack of information about the criminal who did it is very odd, very strange. That in all this time, also, we have to be aware of the fact that the law enforcement agency investigating has tried to frame Trump 2 or 3 times. That's not an exaggeration. That's what the whole Russian collusion scheme was all about. They all knew it was false, including lying fatly on Panetta. Not only was it false, it was paid for by Hillary Clinton. It wasn't just like false, a mix-up on the facts. It was a fiction paid for by Hillary Clinton and propounded by them for 3 or 4 years. And the FBI knew it. The FBI withheld the hard drive, let the president be impeached wrongfully, and let Biden steal an election. and lie when he said that Trump and I were Russian agents. An FBI that does that, we're going to trust them to investigate the attempted assassination of the guy they tried to frame? There's something wrong with that for somebody who honors and respects law enforcement and the rule of law. So we'll spend a little time on that also. So, Ted, let's make sure that everybody says a prayer for the people in Israel who are going to undergo probably some more terrible attacks by Hezbollah, but they'll respond, and they're not led by cowards and traitors like we are. And for the people of America, to give us wisdom. We need a lot of wisdom because we have to do a lot of our own thinking now, and our own reading, and our own analysis, our own critical analysis. And everything going on in our society pushes us in the other direction. Attention deficit disorder. Kids can't think anymore. They've been brainwashed that way, so they can be dominated. That's what Karl Marx was all about, and then a succession of 150 to 180 years of literature that they follow. So that's why we're here. We're here to get that information to you, not just me, but a number of others. And one of them sitting in jail. That's the best at it, Steve Bannon. And that's why he's in jail, because his voice is so strong. To shut him up. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night on Frank's speech at 7 and on America's Mayor Live at 8. And we'll have plenty to report, I'm sure. God bless the United States of America, and take care of Donald Trump.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God